What's going on, everybody? My name is SJ, and welcome back. Today we will be doing a 2023 first round mock draft. This is my first mock draft of the year. I did one last year, didn't upload anything else since, but we're back at it. This one a lot earlier than the last. That one was like right before the draft. This one, couple months. This is recorded and will be posted before the NFC and AFC championship games. So obviously those last couple picks down here aren't quite in order. And that round one pick, 32 pick for Pittsburgh, of course, is Chicago's second round pick. Website just lists it as the first because it is the 32nd, but that's not necessarily important. Of course, Miami lost their first round pick for tampering, I think. I don't quite remember what it was for. But yeah, so we're just gonna be hopping in. I won't be doing any trades for this one. Just to keep things simple, because if I'm being honest, Chicago here, number one overall pick, I think there is a very, very low percentage chance that they actually pick here. Um, they got Justin Fields, they got great. I think he's gonna be really good next year, with the right pieces, of course. Um, I think they've got good running back room. I think, they're aging a little bit in the secondary, but they've got that young safety. I believe they have Jaquan Brisker. Then um, linebackers, Morrow, I think his name is. He really started to break out towards the end of the year. So, of course, their defensive line definitely needs some address. They did lose Robert Quinn to the Philadelphia Eagles through a trade. Um, and they haven't been that great on the defensive side since. And of course, offensively, their offensive line needs a lot of help, um, as well as their wide receiver room. Yeah, they got Mooney. Yes, they got Claypool. And as good as those guys are, we just didn't see it, and we won't see it until Chicago improves their offensive line. So, with all that being said, I really do think Chicago is going to trade back, but I'm just going to keep it simple here. We're just going to take Will Anderson, best overall player in the draft. A lot of people think so, and I would definitely agree. So yeah, moving on to the Houston Texans. I feel like it's pretty obvious that they're going to go quarterback here, but I don't want to rule out the possibility of a trade back. They do have two first round picks. Um, there's no way Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis are taken without them being one of the teams who take them, in my opinion, of course. So I really could see a trade back here, but I'm just going to keep this one simple. Bryce Young is their guy as of now, and I think it's going to stay that way. Moving on to the Cardinals, again, could be another trade back candidate. The problem with, trading back is there's got to be somebody willing to trade up. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But in terms of Chicago, they've got a lot of rebuilding to do. I believe so. They've got some aging pieces. Of course, JJ Watt just retired. And, I think their dream pick is Will Anderson. They also need some interior defensive line help. Um, so, with that being said, I think Jalen Carter is going to be the right pick. I honestly think, seeing how Matt Eberflus runs his offense for the Bears, Jalen Carter could be the number one overall pick if they don't decide to trade down. But that's what we're going to go with here. Now, for the Indianapolis Colts, I gotta imagine that they're gonna want to go quarterback. Um, they just need to get one, right? I mean, the rentals aren't working. I truly believe that they're gonna have to go quarterback here. If not, trade back and pick one later. I mean, they've got their pick between CJ Stroud and Will Levis. Ideally, I believe that they should pick CJ Stroud. Um, Personally, I'm pretty high on Will Levis. He's really grown. His draft stock has really risen with me personally. I mean, you just take a look at what he had at Kentucky. Did more with less, even though his record this year was fairly good, even though he was injured for a while. So injuries may be a concern, but I think Will Levis is better than a lot of people say. But with that being said, Keep it simple. What they should do, take CJ Stroud. Now, Seattle. This is not their pick. This is Denver's pick that they acquired from the trade with Russell Wilson. So, they're in a really good position here, in my opinion. I think they could do a lot of good things here. They need some defensive help. I feel like offensively, they fare fairly well. I think around pick 20 is when I personally will address offense for them. I don't believe they're going to go quarterback in this draft. Obviously they're going to give Geno another year, which, in my opinion, comeback player of the year, he deserves it. But with that being said, you got Myles Murphy here. That would be a great pick. Can learn from, some of the older guys on that line. Tyree Wilson. I think Myles Murphy is better than Tyree Wilson, in my opinion. But down here, you've also got Brian Bresee. And I feel like for the Seahawks, they have more established edge guys than guys on the D line. Although drafting edge certainly will be a concern, I think it would be hard for them to pass up on Brian Bresee here. So that's going to be my pick for them. Now, for Detroit, another team with 2 first-round picks, this being the Rams pick, they're in a perfect situation. They went 9-8 this year. I had them, in my initial record prediction to start the season. I had them going 10-7 and sneaking in at the 7th seed. Of course, that didn't happen. They did have a shot, but I really believed in this team. I see that this website, NFL Mock Draft Database, shout out. They think they should take a quarterback. I highly disagree. I think Jared Goff has been great. I think Jared Goff deserves another year, maybe longer. So, what do I go here? Well, this could be the first corner off the board. They don't necessarily need, an edge. If a Brian Bresee was here, I could see them going that way, but I think what I'm going to do here is I am going to take my first corner off the board. Now, personally, I think Joey Porter Jr., he's my number 1 corner in the class. I think Christian Gonzalez is right behind him. I think Kelee Ringo also may have, a shot at being the number 1 corner taking off the board. Devin Witherspoon is really high on a lot of people's boards, and I don't disagree. But personally, I think Joey Porter just looks the best. So that is what Detroit's going to do. Jeff Okudah didn't play bad this season. Monty Oruwariye didn't play bad this season. But they certainly need to shore up that secondary. Got passed on a lot. Now, for the Las Vegas Raiders, it's defensively, I think their most need defensively is definitely in the secondary at corner. I really think, obviously things with Derek Carr aren't working out. I could see them taking Will Levis here. I really could. If the way the offseason shapes out, they don't end up getting a quarterback. But there's a couple of guys on the move. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but one thing they desperately need is offensive tackle. And it's between, do you want Paris Johnson, who I believe is the standout number 1 in this class? Do you want Peter Skoronski, who is a very close number 2? I think it's going to be up to who they like more in, the draft process and seeing the combine. But I'm going to have them take Paris Johnson. They need that offensive line help, and it's integral if they're going to want to keep building on what they have. Now, for the Atlanta Falcons, I think this is a very interesting spot that they're put in because I believe that they desperately need offensive help. Their line is okay. It wasn't bad, but it could be better. I believe they're going to give Ritter another year, but I really think they need another wide receiver. Obviously, they won't be having Calvin Ridley next year. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, those are all good names, but I think they need help there. I don't think they're going to address it at 8, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a trade back. So there's two top edges on the board, Myles Murphy, Tyrese Wilson. What do I think is going to happen? Well, I think that Myles Murphy is most likely the best pick, but they've got one good corner in AJ Terrell, and I really think they need help there as well. So it's kind of a toss up with what you want to do, but I'm going to have them taking Myles Murphy. Um, I think he's a great piece. I think he'd fit into that defense very well, and they just need somebody to establish a presence that they weren't getting all year long. As for the Panthers, they also may be in need of edge help. Of course, they lost Hassan Reddick, who plays that linebacker role, the outside linebacker role in that scheme. Tyrese Wilson could be a great pickup, but overall, I really do believe that they're going to be taking a quarterback. I think, as much as nice as Sam Darnold is, I think it's going to be too much for them to pass up on Will Levis. Like I said, he's the kind of guy who can do more with less. DJ Moore is there. And that line is okay. So that's what I think Carolina is going to do there. I mean, they could give Darnold another year, but I don't know why they would do that. I don't know why they want to keep trying to push their luck. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, this of course being the New Orleans Saints draft pick, sitting at number 10. They've got some older guys on that line, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, obviously Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. They're, rentals for the year who've played a really good role, but I imagine I could see Linval staying, but I highly doubt Ndamukong Suh will stay at all. In terms of the cornerback room, it's going to be really tough for them. They've got a lot of people to retain. Of course, James Bradbury is going to need a contract. CJ Gardner-Johnson's going to need a contract. Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, all of these people, and Devontae Smith in a few years, they're all going to need to get paid. So, if some of the older guys retire, obviously cap is going to be made. But, they have an injury-prone corner in Avonte Maddox, and I hate to say that, but I got to imagine they're not going to be able to retain everybody. I think Myles Murphy would have been the best pick for them. Not that I dislike Tyree Wilson. I just think Myles Murphy would have been the much better pick. In terms of corner, I think this is where Christian Gonzalez is going to go in the draft. Like I said, Bradbury's there. And I think he may be on his way out if, they can't figure something out there. Now, moving on to the Titans, I really do believe this is where Peter Skoronski is going to go. As for analysis on that, I just think that line, it was pretty terrible this year, if we're being honest. A lot of injuries to the QB. Derrick Henry wasn't having, even though his stats were really good, there was a couple games where that line just could do nothing for him. Nobody was getting protected. And of course, they're going to need more skilled position players, especially on offense, but I think that's something that they can address later. This class is very wide receiver and very corner heavy, in my opinion. Those are probably the two most stacked, I would say. So, moving on, back to the Houston Texans. They're here again at pick 12. They've already got their quarterback. I think they're going to be going offensive here. I think it's going to be a wide receiver. Now, Quentin Johnston, great year. Max Duggan and TCU having such a great year certainly helped rise his draft stock. He's fast, he's explosive, in my opinion. But you got Jordan Addison, also very explosive. I think Jordan Addison is going to be great. Of course, you have some concerns about him, but in my opinion, they're going to keep in-house in Texas, and they're going to take Quentin Johnston, be the replacement to Brandon Cooks, because I'm sure that he is on his way out. Now, the New York Jets. The New York Jets, another team in a really, really interesting position. They unfortunately, had a meltdown. If they had a reliable quarterback, I think that wouldn't have happened. I think they're going to address that in free agency. I don't think that's something they're going to address here in the draft. But they don't need any help not that they don't need any help, but defense is certainly not their worry. I think this has to be offensive. And this might be a little high, but I think Broderick Jones is going to go here to the Jets. I could also see them going safety with Brian Branch. But like I said, I feel like the defense wasn't the issue at all this season. They've had some injuries on the O-line all year, and I think they're going to draft Broderick Jones here. Now, the New England Patriots. New England Patriots are in another interesting situation, I would say. They could always use another corner. They really need help offensively. They could even go Michael Mayer here, try and get some of that Gronk status back. I'm not comparing, but I'm just saying they don't need linebacker help. Well, they do, but that's not what we're picking here. So I think this is going to be a defensive pick. I think they're going to go corner. Now, Kelly Ringo, Cam Smith, it's kind of one or the other in my opinion. I could even see Devin Witherspoon, but I think I'm going to go Cam Smith here. I'm just a little bit higher on him than I am Ringo. In terms of the Green Bay Packers, what are the chances they don't take offense? What are the chances? Like, it would be really bad if they didn't take offense. But it's the Packers, so I honestly could see them doing that. They just mess it up every year, really. But, Addison, Smith, you know what? I have a really hard time pronouncing this last name. Jigba, Smith-Njigba, and Addison. I could also see them going Michael Mayer. That would be really good for them, I believe. But I think wide receiver is probably a little bit more valuable to them, especially seeing on how they passed up on so many other guys. So it's Addison, Jackson. I think I'm really high on Jackson Smith-Njigba. As a Penn State fan, I saw him a lot. So I'm fairly high on him, but I don't think the Packers are going to go that way. I think this is where the Packers finally take wide receiver help. Now, in terms of the Washington Commanders, offensively, their offensive line is fairly okay. I think they could use some help on the interior. O'Cyrus Torrence, but I think this may be a little bit high if that's where they wanted to go. Defensively, I think they need help in the cornerback room. I think linebackers could maybe be a bit of an issue, but I also think quarterback, I see that they have Anthony Richardson as the suggested. I suppose I could see that, but I think they're going to give Sam Howell a try. But I think corner is where they're going to go, and this is when I believe Ringo is going to come off the board. I think he'll just fit perfectly pretty much wherever he goes, honestly. And you could say that for most of the guys that have already been taken. I really like Cam Smith. I really like Christian Gonzalez, but like I said, my number one guy, Joey Porter. Now, for Pittsburgh, I think their dream pick is probably Joey Porter. I believe that's where his father played, but they need help offensively. You can't spin it any other way. I think they would have liked to get a different guy. They've got that 32nd pick, which is technically a second round pick, but will be super valuable. I could see them making a trade up to try and, get a guy like Skronsky or Paris Johnson. But unfortunately, that's not how things fell. I think maybe they could wait a little bit to that number 32 pick to take offensive tackle. I think corner is a place they'd really like to go. Defensive line could use a little bit of help as well. And, everywhere on the O-line really, in my opinion, needs help. But I think they are actually going to wait to address that to that 32nd pick. And they're going to take Devin Witherspoon here. Witherspoon, like I said, there's a lot of really good corners in this draft, and he's one of them. And I can even see him, through the combine process, he might move up to be, the two or the three guy. It really just depends, and I could say that for a lot of the corners on this board. Now, with that being said, moving to the Detroit Lions, um, still they want them to go quarterback. Absolutely not. I could see them replacing tight end. I could also see them maybe pairing up someone with Kirby Joseph, but I think this is where they're going to go interior defensive line. I think Saki Ilka. I think that's how you pronounce that. I think he's going to be their guy. I think he's going to fit really well in that sort of hustle bustle of the Dan Campbell defense. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they need corner. They need, help on the defense. They need help on the offensive line. They had so many injuries this year. I could see them going Anthony Richardson. That'd be pretty crazy. I could see it, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to settle. Tyrese Wilson fell into their lap. I don't know how you wouldn't be happy with that. I mean, top 10 projected pick. And I hate to, wait so long to take him. And I could certainly see some of these teams going that way, but it's just, it's mock draft one. We'll see how things go. For Seattle, their second pick is up. I could see them going edge here. I could see them trying to pair someone up with Tariq Woolen. But I think they also had a little bit of offensive line troubles this year as well. With that being said, I'm torn here between O'Cyrus Torrence and Nolan Smith for them. Let's go O'Cyrus Torrence. Like I said, they definitely need offensive line help. They, not that Geno had a bad line, not that they did a bad job this season, but I think it's certainly something that they can improve on. For the LA Chargers, it says their number one need is wide receiver. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they got Mike Williams, although injury prone. They got Keenan Allen, who is aging. I really like Palmer. I could see wide receiver here, but I don't think that's the way they're going to go. I could also see tight end, them going Michael Mayer. But with that being said, I really don't think that's how they're going to go. I think linebacker is a place that they really need help. They lost Kazir White. I feel like their linebackers did an okay job this season. They definitely don't need to go corner, that's for sure. But I'm going to take Trenton Simpson here at linebacker. Like I said, they lost Kazir White in the offseason, who's played really well with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think linebacker is a good fit for them. As for Baltimore, need I say anything else? Like, tell me, do I really, really need to say anything else? Because I don't think that I do. I really don't. Minnesota Vikings, I'm really low on their secondary, and it's just got to be Phillips. It's got to be. They've got two good pieces in their secondary, and that's it. I think they've got some young guys that can turn into something good, but right now they haven't, and they desperately need help in the secondary. I mean, they got dotted up by Danny Dimes. They got dotted up by Daniel Jones and Isaiah Hodgins. So, yeah. As for Jacksonville, tight end might not be, their biggest need, but I think Michael Mayer would fit perfectly. And if he falls to them at pick 24, it's going to be really hard for Doug Peterson not to take him, especially if Evan Ingram doesn't end up staying with the team. He needs, a Zach Ertz type of guy. Just this, a comparison for like a really good tight end. And Zach Ertz, a really good tight end. So I think that's where he's going to go. We saw how much tight ends were used in his offense in Philly. And I think with a second or with Mayer and somebody else, that would be a very good, very, very good fit. As for the New York Giants, they desperately need help at wide receiver. I could see them waiting, but I don't think so. I like Josh Downs, but Jalen Hyatt, the way he played this season, I think he deserves to be, a number, not the number one wide receiver in the class, obviously, but a first round guy. I really, really could see that happening. Um, for Dallas, I could also see them going wide receiver, and I could see them going corner, but I think wide receiver is going to be where they go. Um, I think that they need somebody besides CeeDee Lamb. I could also see linebacker help, but they've got Parsons and they've got um, what can't I think of his name? Leighton Vander Esch. So I think they're going to go wide receiver. I think they're going to be okay with getting Downs here. And for the Buffalo Bills, for the love of God, take a running back. For the love of God, how good that offense would be with an elite running back. Please, if Bijan Robinson is there, take him. You need it. As for the Cincinnati Bengals, um, they've they're set at safety in my opinion, unless Jesse Bates decides to walk corner. I like their corners as well offensively. On the offensive line, I think it's going to be Anton Harrison. We've seen them have problems, even though they looked really good in the playoffs so far. As for the Denver Broncos, this being the San Francisco 49ers pick, I believe they desperately need help on the edge. Um, I really like BJ Ojolari personally. I think he's a little bit low on some draft boards, but I think Nolan Smith is going to be the pick there. Then for the Kansas City Chiefs, they really have a lot of options. They could go offensive line, I think, but I believe edge, and this is correct here. And then I think BJ Ojolari is going to go here. Um, End of the first round, Philadelphia Eagles, they already got a corner, and I think Isaiah Foskey is going to fall to them, and they're going to be ecstatic. I could also see them taking running back. Jahmyr Gibbs has been really good. If Bijan Robinson somehow falls and things don't work out with Miles Sanders, who is another guy they need to resign, I could certainly see them going that way. But they're going to go Isaiah Foskey here. And then as for Pittsburgh, tackle, interior offensive line, I think that's probably where they go at pick 32 if they keep it and not trade up. So we'll give them Dawand Jones, and that is going to do it. That is going to be the draft. I think things really could shape out this way. I think that there are a lot of different ways that things can go. I think once I do one with trades, I really think a lot of trades are going to happen this year. But with that being said, this is what I got. This is what I have. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Again, my name is SJ. Can't wait to come at you guys with some more mock drafts as time moves on. And I will catch you guys later. Thank you.